Welcome back to English Conversation, Amelia. Today, we're diving deep into first and second conditionals. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you'll finally understand when to use each one in your daily conversations. Stick around, because we'll cover real-life examples that'll make this click instantly.
Hey, Amelia. I'm so ready for this. I always get confused between these two conditionals. Like, when should I say if I have time versus if I had time?
That's exactly what we're tackling today. And listeners, if you find this helpful, please hit that like button. Drop a comment telling us which conditional confuses you more, and let's discuss together. Your engagement helps other learners find this content.
So, Amelia, let's start with the basics. What exactly is the first conditional?
Great question. The first conditional is all about real possibilities in the future. We use it when something is likely to happen. The structure is simple. If plus present simple, then will plus base verb.
Can you give me an example from daily life?
Absolutely. Imagine you're planning your day. You might say, if it rains tomorrow, I'll take an umbrella. You're talking about a real possibility, right? There's actually a chance it might rain.
Oh, that makes sense. So I could say, if I finish work early, I'll go to the gym?
Perfect. You've got it. That's a real plan based on a real possibility. You might actually finish early, and if that happens, you'll definitely go to the gym.
This is already clearer than I thought it would be.
Now here's where it gets interesting. The second conditional is completely different. We use it for unreal or hypothetical situations in the present or future.
Wait, what do you mean by unreal situations?
Think of it like this: situations that are imaginary, unlikely, or impossible right now. The structure is if plus past simple, then would plus base verb.
That sounds complicated. Can you break it down with an example?
Of course. Let's say I don't have $1 million right now, right? So I might say, if I had $1 million, I would buy a house. This is imaginary because I don't actually have that money.
Oh, so it's about things that aren't true right now or probably won't happen?
Exactly. You're catching on quickly. Let me give you another example. If I were the president, I would change the education system.
Wait, you said if I were, not if I was. Is that important?
Excellent observation. In formal English, we use were for all subjects in second conditional sentences, even with I, he, she, or it. So it's if I were, if he were, if she were.
But I hear people say if I was all the time in movies and songs.
You're absolutely right. In informal spoken English, many native speakers do say if I was, and that's becoming more accepted. But for exams and formal writing, stick with were.
Got it. So both are okay, but were is safer?
Precisely. Now, let's compare them side by side with similar situations. First conditional: if I see John tomorrow, I'll tell him about the party. This means there's a real chance I'll see John.
And the second conditional would be different because
If I saw John tomorrow, I would tell him about the party. This implies I probably won't see him. Or It's unlikely. Maybe he's traveling, or we don't usually cross paths. That's such a subtle but important difference. The grammar changes based on how likely something is. You've nailed it. And listeners, if this is helping you, please comment below with your own conditional sentences. We'll review them and help you practice. Let me try creating some examples. If the weather is nice this weekend, I'll go hiking. That's first conditional because it's a real possibility, right? Perfect. Now make it second conditional. Okay, if the weather were nice every day, I would go hiking more often. Brilliant. That's hypothetical because weather isn't nice every day. You're imagining an unreal situation. This is actually fun. Let me try another. If I study hard, I'll pass the exam. Excellent first conditional. That's a real plan with a real possibility. You can actually study hard and pass. And second conditional, if I studied every day, I would be fluent in English? Yes! That implies you don't study every day currently, so it's hypothetical. But here's a question. Could you also use first conditional for that? You mean if I study every day, I will be fluent? Exactly! And that would mean you're planning to actually start studying every day. It's a real intention, a real plan for the future. So the same situation can use different conditionals depending on how real or likely it is in my mind? You've discovered the key insight. It's not just about grammar rules. It's about expressing how probable or real something feels to you.
This changes everything. So when I'm giving advice, which one should I use?
Great question. Both work, but they give different meanings. First conditional, if you call her now, she'll answer. This is direct advice about a real action they could take.
And second conditional?
If you called her now, she would answer. This is softer, more hypothetical. You're not directly telling them to do it. You're suggesting what would happen in that imaginary scenario.
So second conditional sounds more polite or less pushy?
Exactly. That's why we often use it for suggestions and polite recommendations. If I were you, I would apologize sounds gentler than if you apologize, she will forgive you.
That's so useful for work situations. I can be more diplomatic.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about common mistakes. Many students mix the verb forms. They say things like, if I will have time, I will call you.
Wait, what's wrong with that? I've definitely said that before.
The problem is we never use will in the if clause for first conditional. It should be, if I have time, I will call you. Present simple in the if part, will in the result part.
Oh no, I've been making that mistake forever. Why doesn't will work in the if part?
It's just a grammar rule in English. The if clause uses present simple, even though we're talking about the future. Think of it as a condition that must be met first.
Okay, so first conditional, if plus present simple, comma, will plus base verb. I need to memorize that.
Exactly. And for second conditional, if plus past simple, comma, would plus base verb. But remember, that past form doesn't mean past time.
That's confusing. How can past tense not mean past time?
In second conditional, the past tense shows distance from reality, not distance in time. It's hypothetical, not historical.
Can you give me a workplace example? That's where I struggle most.
Sure. First conditional, if we meet the deadline, the client will be happy. Real possibility, real plan.
And second conditional would be about missing the deadline?
Smart thinking. If we missed the deadline, the client would be angry. But more commonly, you might say, if we had more time, we would add more features. This is hypothetical because you don't actually have more time.
What about asking for things at work? Which conditional is better?
Great question. First conditional can sound demanding. If you send me that file, I'll finish the report. It's direct, assuming they will send it.
And second conditional is more polite?
Exactly. If you sent me that file, I would finish the report faster. It's a polite suggestion without pressure. Or even better, if you could send me that file, I would really appreciate it.
So second conditional is like a business superpower for sounding professional?
I love that description. And listeners, comment below with scenarios where you need to sound more polite in English. Let's help each other.
Let me practice some more. If my boss gives me a raise, I'll celebrate.
Perfect first conditional. There's a real possibility of getting a raise.
If I won the lottery, I would quit my job.
Classic second conditional. Very unlikely, but fun to imagine. Most people use second conditional for lottery dreams.
What about goals and dreams? Should I use first or second conditional?
That depends on how achievable you think they are. If I save money every month, I'll buy a car next year. That's a real achievable goal.
So first conditional for realistic goals?
Yes. But if I became a famous singer, I would perform around the world. Use a second conditional because it's more of a fantasy than a plan.
What if I'm not sure how realistic something is?
Then you choose based on how you feel about it. If it feels possible and you're working toward it, use first conditional. If it's just a nice idea or dream, use second conditional.
So if I practice English every day, I'll become fluent? Shows I'm serious about it?
Exactly. That's first conditional showing real commitment. Versus, if I practiced English every day, I would become fluent. Which sounds like you're not actually doing it.
Words really do show our mindset and intentions.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about questions. First conditional question. If it rains, will you stay home?
And for second conditional?
If it rained, would you stay home? Notice how the structure changes but stays consistent with the pattern.
Can I use other modal verbs besides will and would?
Great advanced question. Yes. First conditional. If you study, you might pass. Or if you hurry, you can catch the bus.
And second conditional?
If I had wings, I could fly. Or if you asked nicely, she might help you. The modals change from present forms to past forms.
So can becomes could? May becomes might?
Exactly right. You're really mastering this. Listeners, Are you following along? Drop a comment if you want more examples with different modal verbs.
Let me try some tricky ones. If I lived in Paris, I would visit the Louvre every week.
Perfect! That's hypothetical because you don't live in Paris. Now, make it first conditional.
If I move to Paris, I'll visit the Louvre every week?
Brilliant! That shows you're actually considering moving there. It's a real possibility you're thinking about.
I'm getting the hang of this. What about mixing with other tenses?
Good question. We can be flexible with the result clause. If it rains tomorrow, I'm staying home. Uses present continuous instead of will.
Does that change the meaning?
Slightly. It can sound more definite, like a firm decision. If you need help, I'm here. Sounds more emphatic than I'll be here.
English has so many subtle ways to express the same thing.
That's what makes it rich and expressive. Now, for second conditional, we can also vary it. If I were rich, I'd be living in a mansion right now.
You used would be living instead of just would live?
Yes, would be plus ing emphasizes the continuous nature of the hypothetical situation. It makes it more vivid and immediate.
So, if I had superpowers, I would be flying around the city? Sounds more exciting than I would fly?
Exactly. The continuous form makes it more dynamic and imaginative. You're painting a picture.
This is so creative. I never thought grammar could be expressive like this.
That's the beauty of really understanding these structures. They're not just rules, they're tools for communication.
What are the most common mistakes you hear with these conditionals?
Besides using will in the if clause, students often mix the conditionals. If I would have money, I will buy a car. That's mixing second and first conditional patterns.
I think I've said things like that. How do I avoid it?
Practice thinking about whether the situation is real or hypothetical first. Then apply the correct pattern consistently. Don't mix them in one sentence.
Are there any tricks to remember which is which?
Yes. First conditional sounds like first it's possible. Second conditional sounds like second choice, not happening. Real versus unreal.
That's actually hopeful. First possible, second hypothetical.
Exactly. And remember, first conditional has present simple, which is first or simpler. Second conditional has past simple, which is second or more complex. That's a great memory trick. Listeners, are you using these tricks? Comment and tell us what helps you remember what helps you remember. Now, let's practice with emotions and feelings. If you apologize, she'll forgive you. First conditional, direct advice.
And the hypothetical version?
If you apologized, she would forgive you. Softer, less direct, more about imagining the scenario.
Which one would you use with a friend who's nervous about apologizing?
Probably first conditional to encourage action. If you call her right now, I'm sure she'll appreciate it. It pushes them toward real action.
But second conditional if they're not ready?
Exactly. If you talk to her, you would feel better. You're helping them imagine the outcome without pressuring them to act immediately.
So these conditionals also show empathy and understanding.
You're seeing the deeper communication aspects. Grammar isn't just rules, it's about connecting with people.
Let me try some relationship examples. If we communicate better, we'll have fewer arguments.
Perfect. That's actionable, real advice. Now, the hypothetical?
If we communicated better, we would have fewer arguments?
Yes. That implies you're not actually communicating better currently. It's wishful thinking or gentle suggestion.
What about making plans with friends?
Great context. If everyone agrees, we'll go to the beach this weekend. Real plan, first conditional.
And if the beach plan is unlikely?
If everyone agreed, we would go to the beach. This suggests you know some people won't agree, or it's just an idea you're floating.
So I can tell how serious someone is about plans based on which conditional they use?
You've discovered a hidden skill. If someone says, "If I have time, I'll come," they might actually come. But "if I had time, I would come" often means they're already making excuses.
That's hilarious and so true. Language reveals intentions.
Exactly. Now, listeners, think about the last time someone made plans with you. Which conditional did they use? Comment below.
Let's talk about food and restaurants. If this restaurant has good reviews, we'll try it.
Perfect. You're checking reviews as a real action. Second conditional?
If this restaurant had good reviews, we would try it?
Yes, but that implies it doesn't have good reviews. You're saying, too bad it doesn't, because if it did, we would go.
So, second conditional can express disappointment about reality?
Brilliant observation. Yes. If they served pizza here, I would order it. Means, unfortunately, they don't serve pizza.
These conditionals are like codes that native speakers use naturally.
And now you're cracking the code. Let's try shopping scenarios. If these shoes are on sale, I'll buy them.
First conditional, checking if there's a sale. If these shoes were cheaper, I would buy them.
Perfect. That second one shows they're too expensive right now. You're wishing the price were different.
If I find my size, I'll take 3 pairs.
Excellent. Real shopping intention. Now, listeners, share your shopping conditional sentences in the comments. Let's practice together.
What about health and fitness? If I join a gym, I'll work out 3 times a week.
Good. That's a real plan you're considering. Make it hypothetical.
If I joined a gym, I would work out 3 times a week.
Yes, but that sounds like you're not actually planning to join. It's just imagination or an excuse.
So first conditional shows real commitment to fitness goals?
Exactly. If I wake up early tomorrow, I'll go jogging. Versus, if I woke up early, I would go jogging. The first shows determination. The second shows it probably won't happen.
I'm definitely guilty of using second conditional for exercise plans I never follow through on.
We all are. That's why paying attention to your own conditional usage can reveal your true intentions.
From now on, I'm using first conditional for my goals to hold myself accountable.
That's a fantastic approach. Language shapes reality. Listeners, will you try this too? Comment your commitment.
What about travel? If I save enough money, I'll go to Japan next year.
Perfect first conditional. Real plan, real possibility.
You're actually saving.
If I had enough money, I would go to Japan next year?
Yes, that means you don't have enough money now and you're just dreaming about it.
But what if I say, if I had enough money, I would go to Japan next month?
That emphasizes the impossibility. Next month is soon, so you're clearly saying it won't happen because you don't have the money.
The time references make it even clearer.
Yes. If I win the lottery tomorrow, I'll quit my job is first conditional, but highly unlikely. We can use first conditional for unlikely things too.
Wait, I thought first conditional was for likely things.
Usually, yes, but we can use it for things we treat as possible, even if they're improbable. Winning the lottery is technically possible.
So it's more about grammatically possible versus impossible or contrary to fact?
Exactly. First conditional, grammatically treating it as possible. Second conditional, treating it as unreal or contrary to current fact.
This is getting deep. I love it. What about technology scenarios?
Great idea! If this app works well, I'll recommend it to my friends.
Real possibility. If this app worked better, I would use it more often.
Perfect! That shows the app doesn't work well currently. You're expressing dissatisfaction with its current state.
If they update the software, will it run faster?
Good question form. First conditional question. And second conditional?
If they updated the software, would it run faster?
Excellent! That implies they're not planning to update it, or you doubt they will. I'm really seeing how these conditionals work in everyday life now. That's the goal. Make sure you like this video and comment with your own examples. Help other learners by sharing scenarios.
Let me try some work scenarios. If my presentation goes well, I'll get promoted.
Good. Real hope and possibility. Second conditional?
If my presentation went well, I would get promoted?
Yes, but that's tricky. It could mean the presentation already happened and didn't go well, or you're imagining an unlikely scenario.
So, second conditional can be ambiguous sometimes?
In some contexts, yes. That's why we need to think about what makes sense. Usually context makes it clear.
What about giving warnings? Which conditional?
Great question. Warnings usually use first conditional. If you don't study, you'll fail the exam. Real consequence.
Can we use second conditional for warnings?
Not really, because warnings are about real possibilities. Second conditional would soften it too much. If you didn't study, you would fail. Sounds like advice about a hypothetical person, not a direct warning.
So first conditional is stronger and more direct for warnings and threats?
Exactly. If you touch that, you'll get burned. Direct warning. If you touched that, you would get burned. Sounds like you're explaining to someone, not warning them in the moment. These tiny differences create completely different communication effects. You're really mastering the nuance. That's advanced understanding. Listeners, if you're learning these distinctions, celebrate your progress in the comments.
What about expressing regrets? Do these conditionals work for that?
Good thinking, but that's actually third conditional, which is different. First and second are about future and present. Third is about past regrets.
Can you give me a quick example so I don't confuse them? Sure. Third conditional. If I had studied harder, I would have passed. That's about past regrets. First and second are never about the past.
Got it. I'll focus on first and second for now.
Smart. Master these first. Now, let's talk about giving opinions. If you ask me, the first movie was better. You're right. If you ask me is actually a fixed expression, meaning in my opinion. It's not a true conditional.
Are there other fake conditionals like that?
Yes. If I remember correctly, if I'm not mistaken, if you don't mind, these are set phrases, not grammatical conditionals.
English is full of tricks.
It keeps things interesting. Now, let's wrap up with some quick fire practice.
I'm ready. Give me a situation.
You want to change jobs. First conditional.
If I find a better job, I'll leave this company.
Good. Now, second conditional. Same situation.
If I found a better job, I would leave this company.
Perfect. The first shows you're actively looking. The second shows you're just dreaming or complaining.
So true. What about making a difficult decision?
First conditional. If the price is right, I'll buy the car today.
If the price were right, I would buy the car today.
Excellent. The second implies the price isn't right, so you probably won't buy it.
I feel so much more confident now. Thank you, Amelia.
You've done amazing work today. Listeners, we want to hear from you. Drop your conditional sentences in the comments, ask questions, and let's create a learning community together.
And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to English Conversation Amelia for more deep dives into English grammar.
Before we go, here's your homework. Write 3 first conditional sentences about your real plans this week, and 3 second conditional sentences about your dreams or wishes. Share them in the comments so we can all practice together and give each other feedback. Remember, first conditional equals real possibilities with present simple plus will. Second conditional equals hypothetical situations with past simple plus would.
And choose based on how real or likely the situation feels to you.
Exactly. Keep practicing, keep commenting, and keep learning. We love seeing your progress.
See you in the next episode of English Conversation Amelia.
Thank you so much for watching. Now, stay tuned for your quiz question. Quiz time! Listen carefully and choose the correct answer.
Here's your question. Which sentence is correct for a real future possibility?
Option A, if I will see him, I will tell him. Option B, if I see him, I will tell him. Option C, if I would see him, I will tell him. Think about it for 5 seconds. The answer is option B. If I see him, I will tell him. Remember, we never use will in the if clause for first conditional.
Did you get it right? Let us know in the comments and tell us what score you'd give yourself on conditionals now.